As promised at the top of the show, we're joined by Chris Liddle, London Spirit head coach. Chris, is it just Harmy's imagination, or have the women worked out the 100 a lot better than the men? Harmy's convinced that the women have figured it out, I mean, it's been brilliant for women's cricket, the 100, hasn't it? Absolutely brilliant. Is it because the men play too much T20? I mean, there shouldn't fundamentally be that much difference, but gee, there have been some one-sided games in the men's tournament.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I think it's more not so much more tactical, but there's restrictions in the women's game with only having four out. So you've got to be, I suppose, a bit more street smart in how you want to approach the game. Our views are trying to play a game a certain way that allows us to control what we're doing rather than just being really ultra attacking. And then, I suppose to win a game, you've got to flirt with recklessness a little bit, but it's about doing it at the right time. I think. The girls have approached it really well. They've really bought into the roles that they want to play and supported the player around them. We speak a lot around doing your job and not worrying about other people's jobs and just doing your job to the best of your ability and what's been outlined in terms of role. And then from that, it can feed into other people doing their roles clearly as well. So yeah, I think the men's game, watching it, it's ultra aggressive, isn't it? It's all about bowling as quick as you can and hitting it as far as you can at times. And sometimes the wickets haven't allowed that because, there's been a lot of cricket in England this summer. The weather's been unbelievable. In terms of we've had hardly any rain. I don't think we've had a game affected in the 100 so far due to rain. So that obviously takes its toll on how well the wickets can play, I suppose, and how you want to play. So maybe we've just adapted a little bit better to wickets, I suppose, than what the men might have had because they want to play a certain way.
Yeah, I mean, I've loved the brilliance of the men's game. I really have. The individual brilliance has been fantastic. And it has with a bat, with a ball, and in pockets of games have been really, really good, high quality. But when I'm watching 100 ball games and teams getting bowled out, and then 100 ball games and teams winning by 50 balls, I don't think they have worked it out. But the contest between the women's game, they're going down to the wire, and not only are they going down to the wire, you seem as though you're getting more. Where in the past, in the last few years, you seem as though the crowds have come in, a little sparsely at the start for the women's game, and then they're all coming in for the men's game. But was it 16,000 at the Oval yesterday? I mean, for the women's game, that must have been amazing for the women to play in. And I think that's a sign that people are actually enjoying the women's game more than the men's because there's more of a contest.
Yeah, true. The games have been a lot closer. They've been but we've had two nail biting games that have gone down to the last couple of balls. Like you say, like the crowds that have been coming in at Lords and the crowd that was in yesterday at the Oval, you could really buzz off the atmosphere and stuff, which was superb. But this is the norm now for the women's game. This is what they're getting used to playing in front of. So if you're looking at the bigger picture of, the pressures of the game and getting used to it, they're now playing in front of 18, 20,000, 15,000, whatever it might be, like big crowds that are coming in to watch, and they're getting used to the crowd getting behind them and potentially putting a bit of pressure on them as well. So it's been great. I think the women's game has grown so much from the 100 and benefited so much from it being double headers. So I believe originally it was never planned to be double headers. So look, it's been great. The standard rises each year. I think probably because they're getting used to playing under pressure. And executing skills under pressure is what it's all about, especially when you get to the top level.
Chris, let's turn our attention to the England women and the World Cup next month. If I've counted correctly, I think there are at least five spin options in the England squad. And you being the England women's fast bowling coach might be a pretty quiet tournament for you.
Yeah, I think obviously when you pick a squad or get a squad together, which is a really exciting squad. Looking at it, you obviously got to pick a squad for the conditions that you're potentially going to come up against. So, yeah, blessed in this country with some outstanding spinners. Blessed actually with the amount of depth that's been shown at the moment. There's some players that are coming through and putting the names up, whether that's at England Day or whether that's in the 100 as well. So the standard is rising, the depth is rising in women's cricket. So it's great to see. But yeah, a bank of spinners going to a World Cup in India and a few games in Sri Lanka as well is going to be really important.
Chris, we had Liam Livingston on this show last week, and caused a little bit of a headline when he spoke about the fact that nobody's spoke to him since he's been dropped. Kate Cross, who has got her own platform, she said it was savage when being left out of the England squad for this World Cup. How do you deal with that now? I mean, because we're of the generation where when we first started playing, we didn't even have mobile phones. I mean, now they've got their own YouTube channels. It can be dangerous, it can be madness, but it's also the way of the world. You know, from a management point of view, do you discuss that in your in-house, that how you deal with speaking to people who have got not only, you know, great presence in the dressing room, great presence on the field like Kate has, and she's done brilliantly for England, but now she's not on the squad. She's had her say in public. Where does that stand with all the sort of management? I know it's a difficult question, but how does it play out inside? Because it must be difficult when all you want to talk about is, you know, let's stick together as a team. And unfortunately, you know, it's being aired in public.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? When you pick a squad of 15 to go to a World Cup, and you obviously got to get the balance right with the conditions that are going to come up against. I think, you know, Crossy's doing really well in terms of the 100 and how she's performed. I think there's never I suppose I'm not involved with the selection side of things, and it was for the selectors and Lottie to go down the route of how they want to best put a squad together to go and attack the World Cup. Look, it's never easy. Crossy's been a performer for a long time, and she's got a fantastic record behind her. So it's, you know, you feel for any player that misses out on the chance to go to a World Cup, and especially when they come around every sort of 4 years and stuff. So look, it's not easy. Crossy's gone back and been a professional, model professional in terms of how she's gone about, you know, performed at the Superchargers and led an attack there. I seen Crossy actually just before the World Cup was announced, the squads and stuff, and you know, she was going really well, and she still is going well. So yeah, I think, look, Crossy handled it, you know, well in terms of her performance and stuff. Obviously, it's a media platform and stuff like that. Look, it's sort of the modern world these days. Everyone's got a lot of respect for Crossy, a lot of respect for what she's done in the game, and it's always tough when you miss out on a World Cup selection.
Australia are perennial favourites for every world tournament in the women's game, and they are once again pretty strong favourites, with India installed as very strong second favourites. England amongst, you know, 4 or 5 other teams who are seen as, well, outsiders might be a bit strong, but is that fair enough? Are Australia and India that far ahead in Indian conditions?
I think India have shown how much they've progressed over the years when they came and played us this summer, and you know, the way they sort of really controlled the game that they were playing was really good to see from their point of view, and it gave us a couple of things to talk about as well, and think about moving forward and preparing for a World Cup. So I know those plans have been put in place by Lottie. There's a lot of prep work that's going into place in terms of Abu Dhabi camp and getting set up for the World Cup and stuff like that. So there's been quite a few learners from this summer, and a few things that are going to change in terms of how we approach the game going into this World Cup. And obviously Australia have been a bit of a powerhouse for a while. They've got a good depth of player, a lot of experience in the team as well, which is always key in major tournaments and stuff like that. So I certainly think they'll be certainly up there. I do believe that if we play our best cricket, and we're everyone's on the same page, and we want to play the game the right way, that will give every team a good run for the money, and certainly Australians and the Indian team as well.
How have you enjoyed your role as coach of the London Spirit? And is it true that there used to be a lot more differences between coaching women and men's teams in the past, and now it's really far more just about coaching cricket and cricketing skills, albeit the differences in the styles of play?
Yeah, I've loved. So I've been working in the women's game for 2 years in November with England, and previously I was working with Northants as their bowling coach, but doing the London Spirit women stuff when the 100 kicked off. So this is my 4th year with London Spirit now. First year as head coach. The game is developing all the time. The players are getting quicker, stronger, hitting the ball further, being able to ball quicker, different changes in pace. So the players are developing all the time. I think a lot of what we spoke about here is trying to play to a certain way, trying to have our own style that we want to play to. I think when you do that, it gives a lot of clarity on how we want to go about it. So there's not so much the individual having, you know, an X factor game. It's more about let's do it as a team. Let's control what we can control. And I think the team's really bought into that, and they can really see what success looks like. And I think when you can, you know, show them what success looks like in terms of performance, it gives real clarity to how we want to go about it. So I suppose that's been the real difference in terms of the men's side of things, about executing and being brave enough to do your skills at different times and backing your ability. And the women's game that we played is a bit more about, in my eyes, a bit more about control and knowing how we want to play the game as a team rather than an individual, and real clarity and roles. So it's getting closer. There's different things in terms of, obviously we can only have 4 fielders out and not 5, so it means you've got to control the ground a little bit more, rather, because you can't cover it as much with only having four sweepers out. So yeah, there's different nuances as how to play the game a little bit from the men's, but it's yeah, it's been really good. And it, as I say, every year the 100 kicks off, the game's kicked on even more.